Namaste everyone. Today is a very special day as I am all set to meet Professor Peter Bisschop, who is a Sanskrit professor at the University of Leiden in the Netherlands. He is also a professor of ancient cultures of South Asia. Professor Peter Bisschop has done extensive research on the Skandapurana. The main focus of his research concerns the historical development and spread of early Hindu religious traditions, particularly Shaivism. He is a member of the international research team preparing a critical edition of the Skandapurana. He is very much interested in the Puranas and also in other forms of Sanskrit literature like Kavyas, Shastras and Tantra. I am very much excited to meet him. Mainly, I was very happy to know that Sanskrit is being studied here in the Netherlands. The University of Leiden is a very big university, and I was very happy to know that Sanskrit is being studied here. Okay, so I came by bus and I got down just in front of the university, and just behind the bus stop there is a canal running. Next to the university library there are these buildings, and I am supposed to go into building number 3 to meet Professor Peter Bisschop. So just tell me about yourself, Professor. How did you choose to learn Sanskrit? Because it's not common here in the West. So why did you choose Sanskrit?
The starting point of it all, that would be in my student years, when I was about 20, 21, I did a degree in philosophy, in fact, Western philosophy in the University of Groningen. And then I was interested in other philosophies as well, so Chinese philosophy, Indian philosophy. I took a course on Indian philosophy. And then I was really interested in that, and then my teacher at the time was also a Sanskritist. He advised me that if I really wanted to understand Indian philosophical systems like Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, I had to study Sanskrit, and that's what I started doing then. Ever since.
Where did you learn Sanskrit from?
So I learned that in Groningen, the University of Groningen, from my teacher Hans Bakker, who is now retired. And I think I did 3 years of Sanskrit in my bachelor degree at the time.
So you did bachelor's in Sanskrit?
No, my bachelor was in philosophy, as I said. So it was a degree in philosophy. So Sanskrit was an extra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you did master's in Sanskrit?
Well, there was no divide Sanskrit and master at the time, so this was a 4-year degree program. So I did some extra courses in Sanskrit. So it was something that I did in addition to my regular studies, and then after that I did my PhD there. That's when it got really serious. So I did a PhD that was in religious studies, and that was on a Sanskrit text, the Skandapurana.
I read about it in the website. You did on Skandapurana.
Yeah, I did I worked on the Skandapurana then, and I'm still working on the Skandapurana. Because it's a big text. It's a major thing that drives my research. And so I did my PhD in Groningen as well. On the Skandapurana, I edited a part of the text, translated it, studied it. It's also in that time that I went to India a couple of times, because the text that I had selected dealt with Shiva's ayatanas, so it's a text that describes Shiva's abodes on earth. So I also wanted to visit some of these sites to see what they were like. So I've also always integrated textual research with investigation of material sources, cultural landscape, etc.
Yeah, that's more effective actually.
Than
just studying.
You cannot you cannot study the text just like that. You need to immerse yourself in the culture, I think.
So what all places you visited as part of your research in Skandapurana?
Well, at that time I visited, first that Varanasi, because Varanasi is actually the most important text for the Skandapurana. So it has a Varanasi Mahatmya in it. But I also visited, for me important was a place that you may not know, in fact, or maybe you do, in Gujarat, called Kayavarohana. It's a small village in Gujarat, close to Vadodara. And that is important because the text mentions about how Shiva incarnates in the form of a human guru called Lakulisha. And this Lakulisha descended, Avatirna is what the text says. He descended in earth in a place called Kayavarohana, and then from there the text says, walked the earth, and then he initiated 4 pupils and established thereby 4 lineages of Pashupata gurus. So I went to this place called Kayavarohana, mentioned in the text, and there's still a continuing.
There the people know about it.
Well, the first thing that I wanted to find out is is there any evidence of material from that time? Well, there was. So there was a clear evidence that there were major temples built at the time. But the icon of Lakulisha is, I don't know if you know about Lakulisha, but Lakulisha is quite recognizable. He's the Isha, the Lord with a club. So he holds a club in his hands. He's seated a bit like the Buddha, and then he's recognizable by this club that he holds in his hand. And so you also have iconography of these Lakulishas, and they were also found there. And in present day, there is again a sort of revival of this regional tradition.
Lakulisha is
Lakulisha.
Lakulisha.
Yeah, so Lakula plus Isha, Lakulisha.
Lakula is that
the stake, the club. Lakula, and then so he's the Lord with the Lakula. So at present there is a modern temple, big modern temple, that also has a Lakulisha icon in the center. So it's a very long tradition. Of course, people there did not really know what I was talking about because, that's centuries back. But at the same time, I could see still continuation. So I found that very fascinating, and that is what I find interesting in India in general. How,
do we have evidence for all?
And it also continues until the present. Of course, in a different way. It's not the same, but I can still recognize continuities, changes also, of course. So that was my first trip to India, and ever since I've been to a range of places, lots of different places.
So you visit India frequently?
I try to,
And can you tell some important things that you have discovered during your research on Skandapurana?
Where to start? Well, the first thing relates to this story that I just told you about Lakulisha's descent. So I found out a lot about the origin of this Pashupata movement. I've become interested in this tradition of the Pashupatas, which is an early community of Shiva worshippers.
But they are still existing?
No, Pashupatas now no longer exist, but they were the earliest organized movement of Shaivas. And so a lot of later and continuing into present day Shaivism, Shiva worship, is a sort of outcome of that. So a lot of the categories that Shaivas in modern day India work with, I can recognize. So it's more a predecessor of certain forms of Shaivism. It was a very ascetic community of worshippers of Pashupati, so the Vedic name Pashupati. So that's something I've from there I've also studied this whole Pashupata tradition. There's also a Pashupata Sutra, for example, and there's a commentary on that called the Pancharta Bhashya. The commentary, the Bhashya on the Pancharta, and the Pancharta are 5 topics which the Pashupata Sutra deals with. Well, one of the things that I found, if you ask about things that I found, I've discovered another manuscript of this text, because there are only 3 surviving manuscripts of it, so it's very rare. Also shows that the tradition has died out, so it's not been continued.
Where did you find the manuscript?
So this is a manuscript from Benares.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a very late manuscript, maybe 19th century or so, but it has a passage that was lost in the other 2 manuscripts, which were used for the original edition. So I was able to identify sort of the missing part.
Of the Skandapurana?
No. This is so now I'm talking about I'm actually talking about the commentary on the Pashupata Sutra, the Pancharta Bhashya, and it's an interesting part because it's about the Aishvarya sort of powers that a Pashupata yogi attains by following the system. Yeah. So that's not about the Skandapurana, but it's from there you start looking at other things as well. No, in the Skandapurana, well, the main thing is we're editing the text. So I can show you. This is the latest volume. You see, there's a number of volumes. And so, what we do is we edit the text like this, and with a critical apparatus that reports all the variants in manuscripts. And when we edit it, we also provide a translation, or actually it's a synopsis, or an extensive summary. And then also we try to study the material. And well, the Skandapurana is a text that is known in India also to the present day, because you have the Kashi Kanda, the Kedara Kanda, Himavad Kanda. Lots of texts are attributed to it. So what did we discover? Basically this text. So it provides a wealth of material effectively on Shiva and his stories about Shiva and his wife Parvati, her relation to Durga, Kaushiki. But also Vishnu's avatars are retold from a Shaiva perspective.